Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Election Night 2024. Today we have Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner for the Democrats versus Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson for the Republicans. So, this has been nicknamed the War of the Populists because it's a rather unusual matchup because both platforms are significantly and ultra-populist economically. The key differences are in social issues, Sanders and Turner and the Democrats being significantly more left, whereas Gabbard and Carlson, Republicans, being significantly socially rightward. Not quite far right. For example, she's not as hardline on abortion, but nonetheless supports the very popular proposal to ban late-term abortion. And there's significantly a lot in common with them, such as being anti-intervention, even in Taiwan, the country that was aggressed against by the People's Republic of China last year and has been ravaged by them ever since. While the Sanders campaign has been a little more lenient towards aid going to the country, financial aid. And they're both significantly trade protectionist, and the main difference is their view on Trump as well. The Sanders campaign wanting to put Trump on trial for treason and for crimes against humanity, while the Gabbard and Carlson campaign want to make Trump into a new founding father and exempt him from any legal repercussions. So, poll closings. It is 7 o'clock p.m. on the Eastern Coast, and we have poll closings out of 6 states. Indiana. Tulsi Gabbard is projected to win its 11 electoral votes from the crossroads of America by around 20 to 25 points. This is an improvement on Trump's 17-point margin in 2020. She's also projected to win Kentucky, 8 electoral votes by 32 to 36 points. This is an improvement on Trump's 27-point margin in 2020. South Carolina, 9 electoral votes. She's also projected to win. Her margin is also an improvement on Trump's 10-point margin. Vermont, meanwhile, Bernie Sanders' home state, 3 electoral votes, is projected to go to him, of course. No surprise there. His margin is 33 to 40%, which is significantly higher than the 36% margin that Biden won the state by in 2020. Meanwhile, Virginia, normally a very solid blue state, this time we thought it would become a very solid blue state, but it is actually too close to call at this hour. Gabbard's lead is expected to shrink massively, and we don't know if she'll be able to hold on or not, but it is only so big for Gabbard because the Republican areas of the state count first. Georgia, also, we thought the state was going to become solid blue, but it is too close to call at this hour with these two candidates on the board. Sanders leads narrowly by 1.2 points. And the electoral map is on your screen now. 28 for Republicans, 3 for the Democrats. It is 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast, and we have poll closings out of 3 states. Ohio, 17 electoral votes projected to go to Tulsi Gabbard. Her margin is improvement on Trump's 8-point margin. West Virginia, 4 electoral votes. She's also improving on Trump's 39% margin in 2020. Meanwhile, North Carolina, the Tar Heel state, 16 electoral votes, is too close to call. Only around 0.2% separates the two candidates at this moment. The electoral map is on your screen now. 49 for Republicans, 3 for the Democrats still. Poll closings, and we have the second biggest batch of poll closings for the night. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tulsi Gabbard is projected to win 43 combined electoral votes from Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Missouri. In each of these, her margins are an improvement on Trump's 2020 margins. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is projected to win 71 combined electoral votes from Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, DC, Illinois, and Rhode Island. In each of these states, he is projected to improve upon Biden's 2020 margin, except for in Massachusetts and in Maryland. Meanwhile, in the great state of Maine, the 1st district is projected to go to Bernie Sanders by 20 to 25 points. This is an improvement on Biden's 19-point margin in 2020. Meanwhile, the 2nd district, going solidly red for Tulsi Gabbard. 1 electoral vote projected to go to Gabbard by 10 to 15 points. This is improvement on Trump's 8-point margin in 2020 and 2016. Meanwhile, Maine at large continues to stay blue. 2 electoral votes projected to go to Sanders by 4 to 7 points. This is a bit of a drop from Biden's 9-point margin. Meanwhile, neighboring New Hampshire, still too close to call this hour. Sanders narrowly leads by the skin of his teeth. Pennsylvania, the king of all battleground states, it is too early to call. Gabbard has a massive lead, but this is expected to shrink very much because the Republican areas count first, and we have no idea if she will hold on or not. We will see. Florida, 30 electoral votes. This state is trending heavily to the right. But currently Gabbard only leads by the skin of her teeth. However, very little has been reported so far, so we have no idea where this is going to go yet. The electoral map is on your screen now. 93 for Republicans, 77 for Democrats. Poll closings, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and polls have closed in the state of Arkansas, which we project to go to Tulsi Gabbard. 6 electoral votes by 30 to 35 points. This is an improvement on Trump's 27-point margin in the state in 2020. Meanwhile, we have a call to make out of Florida. 30 electoral votes projected to go to Tulsi Gabbard by 10 to 15 points. This is really solidifying the state's redward shift. This is underneath DeSantis' 19-point margin in the governor's race in 2022, but nonetheless, this is a significant improvement on Trump's 3-point margin in 2020. We can see that the Cuban vote, while the Cuban turnout massively shrunk, many of them broke massively for Gabbard. They didn't take kindly to either of their economic policies, but Gabbard being a little slightly less so, that was enough for them to break massively for Gabbard. It was at least better than having a self-declared someone who went to Cuba and didn't criticize Cuba, at least, and it paid off for Sanders. Ironically, Sanders' protege, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. Apologize. But yes, we project Florida solidly lands in the Gabbard column, and Georgia, 16 electoral votes to the north of Florida. The neighbor to the north is projected to go to Tulsi Gabbard. This is, we thought this state is trending very, very blue, but it lands in the red column tonight. It lands by 4 to 8 points. Meanwhile, turnout in the state is massively down. Same with North Carolina. Turnout is dropping, but 16 electoral votes lands in the Tulsi Gabbard column by a likely margin, 5 to 7 points. The electoral map is on your screen now. 77 for Democrats, 161 for Republicans. It is now 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have the biggest batch of poll closings of the night. Tulsi Gabbard wins 27 combined electoral votes from Louisiana, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. In each of these states, she has improved slightly upon Trump's 2020 margins. Meanwhile, in New York, 28 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders. He wins by 20 to 25 points, roughly equal to what Biden won the state by in 2020. Colorado, 9 electoral votes. The Mountain State lands in the Bernie Sanders column by 8 to 14 points. This is For the record, Biden won this state by around 12 points in 2020. Nebraska's 2nd district, while it trended heavily blue in 2020, we project it will flip back to the Republican side for landing in Tulsi Gabbard's column tonight. 1 electoral vote projected to go to Gabbard by 3 to 7 points. We presume this is because the exit polls show that this is because of social issues. They didn't take kindly to either candidate's economic policies, but Tulsi was a bit more appealing in the social aspect in such a suburban district. And Arizona also, 11 electoral votes. They have only started counting, and it's only about 1% in, but we can project at poll closing time that Arizona lands in the Republican column. It will flip back from the Democrats in 2020. Gabbard will win the state by about 6 to 8 points. We also see turnout dropping and the third-party votes spiking in this state, but nonetheless, we see again social issues was a factor, and they preferred Gabbard on this issue over her former master Bernie Sanders. Michigan, 15 electoral votes, too close to call. Gabbard leads by around 10, but it is only 1% in. Wisconsin, Gabbard leads by much more, by around 16, but this is very little is in. Minnesota, similarly. Well, in Minnesota, Gabbard only leads by the skin of her teeth by less than a point, but very little is in. New Mexico, the land of enchantment, too close to call, very little is in, but not Biden. We apologize, this is Sanders. Sanders leads by 0.1 points. Texas, the Lone Star State, 40 electoral votes. It is still too close to call this hour. Gabbard is only ahead by half a point over her former master. Electoral map is on your screen now. 115 for the Democrats, 200 electoral votes for Tulsi Gabbard. Poll closings. It is now 10 p.m. on the eastern coast, and we can have poll closings out of 4 states. Iowa, 6 electoral votes. Formerly a battleground state, but now it lands solidly in the Republican column. 6 electoral votes, solidifying the state's redward trend that we saw previously under Donald Trump, and now carried again by Tulsi Gabbard, this time by 13 to 18 points, a vast improvement upon Trump's 10-point margins in 2016 and 2020. Montana, 4 electoral votes, also lands with the Republicans by 24 to 28 points. This is an improvement upon Trump's 23% margin in 2020. Utah, 6 electoral votes, also projected to go to Tulsi Gabbard. 30 to 35 points. This is roughly equal to what Trump won it by in 2020. Nevada, 6 electoral votes. Gabbard is leading by 2 points, but nearly nothing is in so far. So we'll really have to see about this. Too close to call at this hour. New Hampshire, 4 electoral votes. Sanders, we can finally call this state 2 to 4 points for Bernie Sanders. This state had a huge love affair with Tulsi Gabbard because of her anti-war and libertarian appeal, but we can see that geographical proximity to Vermont and Bernie's northeastern appeal got him over the hump in the state in the end. Narrowly, though. The electoral map is on your screen now. 119 for the Democrats, 216 for the Republicans. And now, 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And California, we can project 54 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders. He is projected to win by 25 to 30 points. This is a slight decrease from Biden's 32-point margin in 2020. Oregon, 8 electoral votes is projected to go to Bernie Sanders by 17 to 22 points. This is an improvement on Biden's 17-point margin in 2020. Washington, 12 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders by 20 to 25. This is an improvement on Biden's 20-point margin. Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard's home state, 4 electoral votes going to Bernie Sanders. However, the margin is greatly reduced, considering Biden won the state by 30 points in 2020, but now it is only going to go to Sanders by slightly over 10. Idaho, 4 electoral votes for Tulsi Gabbard. She's projected to win by 30 to 35 points, roughly equal to what Trump won the state by in 2020. And Texas, we can finally call 40 electoral votes, the second biggest prize in the union for Tulsi Gabbard. She's projected to win it by 10 to 15 points, roughly the Greg Abbott margin against Beto O'Rourke in 2022 in the governor's race. This lines up with her similar performance in Georgia, which is about a Kemp margin against Abrams, and in Arizona, which was roughly a McCain margin against Obama. And the electoral map is on your screen now. 260 for Tulsi Gabbard. She's wrapped just 10 below the magic number of 270. She needs any of the remaining states to win, except for maybe Nevada and New Mexico or Alaska. But can she win any of them? That is the question that we shall answer. Nonetheless, the betting odds have her at about a 75% chance of winning, and the needle is roughly about there as well. And so this will come down to the wire. Poll closings. It is now 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have poll closings out of the state of Alaska, which we project to go for Tulsi Gabbard. 3 electoral votes by 10 to 14 points. That's an improvement on Trump's 9-point margin in the state in 2020. And we have a state call out of Virginia. 13 electoral votes. This state, previously going solidly blue, but now it has flipped Republican for the first time since 2004. Tulsi Gabbard wins Virginia's 13 electoral votes out of the Commonwealth. She's projected to win by a tilt margin, or low lead margin, only around 0 to 2 points, roughly a Youngkin margin, when in the governor's race in 2021. And with the call in Virginia, this puts Tulsi Gabbard over the top, and when you project, Tulsi Gabbard will be elected the 47th president of the United States. She becomes the first female president, the first Hindu president, first Samoan and Hawaiian and Polynesian president, as well as the first one to have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And her running mate, Tucker Carlson, becomes the first vice president with no prior political experience, and the first one to come from a cable news background. She defeats Bernie Sanders, one of the most approved of senators in the country, and politicians in general, and her former master. She is widely seen as a protege to Sanders, who went rogue and defected to the other party, and now ended up beating him at his own game. The electoral map is on your screen now. 276 for Tulsi Gabbard. She has passed the magic number of 270. Still 197 for Bernie Sanders. State projections. It is now 1:30 a.m. Wisconsin, we can now project for Tulsi Gabbard. She's projected to win the cheese state by 3 to 5 points. Her anti-war messaging very, very much helped her in this state, it seems. And in Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes, also projected to go to Tulsi Gabbard, but by a narrow 1 to 3 point margin. It looks like, according to the exit polls, Bernie's Northeastern appeal helped him here, as well as young voters broke massively for Bernie Sanders. But working class white voters and very populist voters who are older broke massively for Tulsi Gabbard, which narrowly got her the victory in Pennsylvania, the mother of all battleground states. State projections, it is now November 7, 2024. Michigan, we can also project 15 electoral votes. this Rust Belt state for Tulsi Gabbard by 1 to 2 points. It's very economically left, but socially somewhat right-wing, and Gabbard's unique position on social issues and economic issues paid off in the state. And meanwhile, a bit of a consolation prize for Bernie Sanders. Minnesota's 10 electoral votes from the land of 10,000 lakes. He is projected to win this state by the skin of his teeth by around 1 to 2 points, similar to what Hillary Clinton won the state by in 2016. He narrowly holds on there by the skin of his teeth. Meanwhile, New Mexico, another flip for Tulsi Gabbard, 5 electoral votes. She's projected to win the land of enchantment by only a tilt margin of less than a point. Nonetheless, she has flipped this state, which hasn't gone Republican since 2004. And is now November 8th, 2024. This is 3 days after the election. We can finally call Nevada. It will end in the Tulsi Gabbard column by 2 to 4 points. This is a state that economically agreed very, very much both with Gabbard and Bernie, but on social issues, Tulsi Gabbard won out. Particularly the libertarians in the Clark County region came out for her massively, and this narrowly flipped the state to her column. And the electoral map is on your screen now. Tulsi Gabbard wins 331 electoral votes to Bernie Sanders 207. And the flips on your screen. You can see there are no Sanders flips. There are 8 states that Gabbard flipped into her column for 95 electoral votes. She not only flipped the normally battleground states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona and Nevada, but also flipped Virginia, a very solidly blue state, and as well as New Mexico. And the popular vote is on your screen. Now, Gabbard has 47% and Sanders has 46%. The third-party votes spiking massively this year, as similarly we saw in 2016. Gabbard leads by 1% in the popular vote. So this is an R+1 national environment. Thanks for watching. So this is my second serious election night. My first one was Tulsi Gabbard versus Joe Biden, and it was a huge success. And I've decided to transition fully this channel to a political predictions channel, because it seems like this is a place where my passions and the views can both intersect, unlike with the RuneScape content. So yes, thank you all for watching. If you want me to make more videos like this, like, comment, and subscribe below, and I will see you later.